Aloha. I wanted to speak on today some pretty intense stuff um, involving like the psychological warfare that's going on, like World War III as a psychological warfare as opposed to um, uh, like um, bombs and bullets and all that kind of stuff. And World War III is pretty much the ongoing world war that's been going on. Um, I mentioned that because I was playing the music. Now I was gonna play something more intense, but yeah, it's already intense. And this is a drawing that I did yesterday or finished yesterday. And it started from just the centerpiece, just the lines through the middle, uh, dividing the paper into quarters, and then um, drawing circles. And this is what came of it. So I also wanted to use this and tell the story of this and use the numerology of it and move it around and also see it from different angles from myself through the camera. But yeah. So speaking on oh, and I also wanted to mention that was initially what I wanted to do the video on was including the game that's going right now. It's not really a game when you really go to the depths of it. It's being played on television as a game, but it's very real in people's lives. Is the the Bill Cosby scandal and the race war, psyche triggers, and how I'll try to cut it short so I can just hit the points. So right now, the the main points, they're everywhere. I'll just mention the points and you can connect the dots. But so starting off with so I'll go back. I'll start there and then come back to this. So waking up in the morning, a lot of people still watch the television. A lot of people still listen to radio and all kinds of other versions of musical input and or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter because it's everywhere. And an example, and I mean it is just the it that's the subject of this space right now, this moment. So the it is the psychological warfare that is being manipulated through the psyches of everybody that is subject to or works within the fiat currency world, within the everybody in America, everybody right now. I can't really. Everybody on the planet can be connected to this because everybody on the planet is connected. Period, and also easily subject to the ideas that are being shared or pumped out on the mainstream. The mainstream circuit affects that satellite affects people even if they don't listen to it or watch it. That circuit, that magic is running, just like Hollywood can be seen as a magic and understood as some kind of a uh, like a hold or a grip on consciousness when the self-destructive measures get so pumped into the system that when the self-destructive measures get so pumped into the system that we end up policing ourselves and killing ourselves and destroying our culture and our civilization, our human nature starts to become second to something else, and that something else could be easily, one of the something else's could be easily understood as money, possessions, whatever it is. It's the self, and it's void. The self that is void of uh, the other. That's the psyche that gets pumped out, and within that psyche gets storylines that get told to continue that self-destructive process. So, however many decades Bill Cosby has been pumped up to be the father of Black America, to be pumped up in the media, to be like the sweetest, not saying curse words, comedian and father of America, Black America, genuine, nice comedian. Pumped that story out forever while these other stories were going, knowing these stories were going, and knowing the trigger point. These people knew, even today, these people knew. They knew the storyline that was being manipulated. They knew the timing of it all. Everything is on a timer. Everything that gets released, everything that gets said, everything that gets, all the stories that get pumped out, they're all on a timer. Everybody is adjusting to this timer that we're all working with, and in this process of unraveling this like ball of just self-destructive twine that is kind of leaked within the system, in our own systems of understanding ourselves and relating with each other, and even creating our own cultures and separating from our own cultures and manipulating our own cultures. All this stuff is intertwined with this. So they built up this father figure. At the same time, they're destroying the actual black father. So that's the subconscious plot and the storyline that's being played on the other side, the news. And I don't like using these words, but on the word black and all this other, because there's so much other shit. But for right now, I'm using to reference this world, because this is how the world uses these words as magic. So this world, these codes need to be referenced and used in this context, not to be judged upon in any kind of sense of I mean, everybody's open to it. I'm not putting it out as a judgment. That's what my main point is. So, back to the point. Bill Cosby, he's built up, and then his legs are cut off. Now, being out there and having done what he's done, if he is guilty for whatever he's doing, then that's part of the story, but also another part of the story. There's all these other stories that get told, so you can look on the news right now and see what story wants to be told. If the news was a person, and that person was just a big bully that just wants to bully people around and tell and make people think a certain way, like pin two people up against each other. So that's like the storyline right now, is a combination, bring everybody together but bring them together with anger, with hatred, and bring them together with the tune, with the frequency of justice, but bring that justice for with the us, the US, and against an individual or against an idea. Never really going at the infrastructure of the design, never really going at the infrastructure of what's behind the scenes, what's going on to that's going on in the psyche of this storyline that's being put out there. How many other storylines are being put out there and sold to the subconscious that are not being told? And meanwhile, the prison, the complex. So this is like a Bill Cosby complex, like the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex. These ideas, using in quotation like the idea, what's happening. So Michael Jackson, when this happened to Michael Jackson, that was a Michael Jackson complex. The Monica Lewinsky, that was a Monica Lewinsky complex. All these are complexes that get fed, systems that get fed in order to maintain a psychological atmosphere to be at a space of malleability. Like you can mold it into whatever you want once you dumb it down and create an emotional, like charged, an emotionally charged focus. Yeah, an emotionally charged space to where you can then install an idea, you can install a storyline, and then later on, whatever you're selling, that can be installed to further on the storyline, for whatever the subconscious story that wants to be put out. So that's being put out. See, he's out there because they knew what he had possibly done, or what they knew, all these storylines. So if everything is being put out on purpose, on time, they're creating an environment to be creating teams. Meanwhile, you look at HBO and you can see all the slave movies, all the old. They're creating history. They're creating atmospheres. They're creating angst. They're creating a space to carry on this race psychological war subconsciously, so they can feed you whatever story is being is on deck circle. That's the story to be sold, is whatever's coming up next, and we just eat whatever gets sold to us, and then that's when we adjust. And we think we're adjusting to something new, but it's actually the same story again. So that's the whole point. If we don't realize the history repeating itself, we'll get caught up in a distractive bubble and be stuck in the same situation on a deeper layer. That's the main point of all these other stories, outside of the fact of Bill Cosby and his guilt and his involvement and what he was doing, and whether he's guilty or not, and all this stuff lies in the hands. It's more of a frequency, in energetically speaking, is more of a frequency that exists within our own psyche than it is within anything else. Because how many other people could they go on and on and on and on and emphasize about in the White House about this same thing, in Congress, all over the street? Like, all these things can be told in different ways about different people, all throughout the power grid. And when the focus gets pumped in and charged up, you can always see why. So there's always a storyline behind it. So the distraction, the main distraction is stop. Look at this and be judgmental. Judge. You have to be a judge. They turn you into a judge to validate their judgment, to validate their system. The very system that keeps us in the prison industrial complex, that keeps us in the military industrial complex. So all this stuff is directly related. So these subconscious distractions of Hollywood celebrities and the father of America, or father of Black America, and these storylines. It's just like how the storyline in Hollywood, the black guy always gets shot first, and this whole thing. Yeah, these are things. So we don't go to the depths of who we are, and how the pre-Columbian history. We don't go to the golden eras of black and brown peoples of this planet. We don't go to the golden eras of the indigenous peoples of this planet. We don't go to these PowerPoints and understand what Malcolm X was talking about. And we don't go into understand like the depths of the storylines involved with and how deep the double layer of psychological controlling that the civil rights was involved with when that came out, and what happened with the whole story between Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and the FBI, and all the stories, religion itself, the whole infrastructure, and how that plays on in the leadership of nations, and the whole the planet and the infrastructure right now. And it's a big distractive bubble and intertwined behind the scenes and we're only hearing the distractor parts of it, so we can get stuck in the voting space when our true potential lies in us uh, understanding how we're already in that golden space, and understanding we've already done this stuff, and understanding the depths, becoming aware of the depths of history already, um, having done what we're going and experiencing today, just in a different style, and then learning from those mistakes, and then learning from what we have available today, and then going from there. But these distractions are everywhere. Everything is a distraction if we're not. This is including social media. This is including everything that we think is being for our benefit. It's all it's all a part of this grid line. So I'll explain later what, or in the next video, what this picture is in a shorter one. So thank you for joining me. Until next time, peace, love, and harmony.